district attorney on it. And then if we could, we'll go to the school's measures right after that. So,
hello everybody.
DAs don't get quite as much time as mayor candidates.
Okay.
So it's a 2-minute introduction, say anything you want about the campaign, the arts, whatever, and then Q&A, and then we'll try to be voting on a recommendation for the actual endorsement meeting, which will be next Monday.
Great. Hey everybody, thanks a lot for having me. I know you're seeing a lot of candidates today and your heads must be swimming a little bit, but I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm running for district attorney because our criminal justice system is completely broken. We have a situation where we're basically bankrupting our state because we're spending so much money on corrections and all the types of things that could actually make us safer, like keeping kids in schools and like funding programs like the arts to keep people out of the criminal justice system, are being cut left and right. At the same time, 7 out of 10 people coming out of prison go back within 3 years. It's such a mess that the Supreme Court has said it's unconstitutional. So we need to completely reform our criminal justice system. And in order to do that, we need someone who has been reforming the system from the outside for the last 20 years, and that's what I've been doing. Let me quickly tell you about my background. I really come from a community-based organization and advocacy background. My very first job was at Walden House Adolescent Facility counseling delinquent kids. After law school at Stanford, I worked at Legal Services for Children, providing free legal services to kids in San Francisco. I've also worked at nonprofits like the National Council on Crime and Delinquency, which focuses on alternatives to incarceration for juveniles to keep them out of the system, and the W. Haywood Burns Institute for Juvenile Justice, Fairness, and Equity, which focuses on the overrepresentation of youth of color in the system and what we can do to make the system fairer. I've also worked in law enforcement, Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, and on the Police Commission, the civilian oversight body for law enforcement, where I brought national best practices to San Francisco. And at Berkeley, I founded the Center for Criminal Justice with the mission of bringing law enforcement and community together to build collaboration around pragmatic criminal justice reform. And that's really what my whole career and whole campaign is about. How do we bring law enforcement and community together to build partnerships? And I see the arts community as very much a part of that community, and want to work very closely with the arts community and see where we can interact. One example is I know Sheriff Hennessy has a lot of innovative programs here regarding the arts that I would want to help continue and expand. I just interviewed the head of the Michigan Department of Corrections, which has an incredible program called PCAP, which is the Prison Creative Arts Project, where they have every year, for over 15 years now, they've had a huge exhibit of over 200 artists from the prisons with over 300 pieces that gets acclaimed throughout the state and actually throughout the country. And so I think it's really important that we look at innovative things like that. Art is a wonderful way for people involved in the criminal justice system to express themselves, many of whom have experienced trauma and other things, and many of whom are very, very talented. And this could be the thing that sets them on the right path and keeps them from coming out of prison. So I know my time is short. I will welcome any and all questions, but I would be really, really honored to have your endorsement. And again, what I'm all about is working with the community, including the arts community.
Oh, somebody's got a question.
All right.
There we go.
I'm just, we heard from some of the other candidates about the importance of knowing from within the system, and you started by saying from the outside. So
That's
I'm
right.
wondering what specifically you think you would bring as an outsider that someone who's working their way up in law enforcement wouldn't bring to the position.
Sure. Right now, with the problems we face that I described at the beginning of this process, it's not just about arresting people better and prosecuting people better. Of course, we can use improvements in those areas, but doing that has filled up our prison systems to a completely unmanageable level that's unconstitutional and is bankrupting our state. So what we need to do is focus on the much bigger picture. That's like all the prisoners coming back. How are we going to reintegrate them? I happen to be an expert on how to get jobs for prisoners coming back to the community. I led a group that brought together everyone from the head of the Prison Guards Union to formerly incarcerated advocates to come together and reach consensus on that issue. Those are the kinds of things that we need right now. We need someone with a broader perspective who, yes, I've been on the Police Commission, I've been in the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, I'm endorsed by over 24 members of SFPD, I'm endorsed by the California Police Chiefs Association, which is all the chiefs in the state. I have a lot of law enforcement support, but I also have pages and pages and pages of support from community members. I actually have over 1,900 supporters total. So that broad base is what we need to reform the system now.
Johnny.
Well, I had kind of it was the same question. But how do you defend yourself against people who say you don't have the inside experience?
Yeah, I say that's exactly the point. Someone who's been in law enforcement their whole career is not going to be able to make the kind of dramatic changes we need. They might make some incremental changes and tinker with the system a little bit, but what we need is somebody from the outside to completely revamp our entirely broken criminal justice system. That's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. And again, if law enforcement was actually concerned about this, the people working in the trenches in law enforcement, why are so many of them endorsing me? So I am really excited to be in this position to move forward with reform, and I'll be able to have law enforcement support to implement my reforms because they know exactly where I'm heading, and a lot of people in law enforcement also understand the need for reform. But again, it's a very narrow focus if you've spent your entire career as a prosecutor, as a police officer. In order to really revamp the way we need to, you need to have a broader focus. And again, I bring that to the table with my life experience.
What's your position on the death penalty?
I am absolutely against the death penalty. I will not seek it under any circumstances. I'm the only candidate who has been clear and unequivocal the entire time about that. If you look at the statements of the candidate month by month in this election, they have changed. So I don't know what you're hearing from the other candidates now, frankly, because it seems to change a lot. I have been clear and unequivocal from the beginning. I will not seek the death penalty under any circumstances. And just quickly, Tony, I know we only have a minute. It does not make us safer. It is not cost effective. It is not fair and equitable. Those are the reasons that I'm against it, and I won't seek it under any circumstances. You will get an absolutely direct, straight answer from me every single time.
We actually have less than a minute, but that's good. Anything else? We're good? Okay, great.
All right, thank you, everybody. I actually brought a list of my 1,900 plus supporters for those who are interested for your perusal. It's also on my website, but I can leave that. Okay, I will leave it out there for folks. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay.
There's a swag table with flyers and stuff that you guys haven't seen because you've been in this room the whole time.